All right, my beautiful people, thanks so much for tuning in. It's ERGJ back from ERGJ Enterprise at www.ergj.net. We're back with our financial book club, and it's actually brought to you by True Detergent, Black-owned and manufactured detergent, making free deliveries here in the Atlanta area. You want to get a bottle, you get it for $15 from me. Hopefully, you'll take advantage of that. But what I wanted to do tonight, we're going to be starting a series, a nightcap series. I said that 15 minutes a day keep broke away. What if we do more than 15 minutes? So here's some things that you can be doing other than watching TV. It's called reading a book. And so I'm actually going to go through the book that actually helped change my financial life. The #1 book that I recommend when people ask me what should I read if I want to be rich. It's actually called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's by George Clason. It's a book that was written back in 1926. And we're going to be going through today, The Man Who Desired Gold. And so I'm going to start with the forward and get right into it. I know you don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. My #1 financial book, Babylon, do this every night. Forward. Our prosperity as a nation depends upon the personal financial prosperity of each of us as individuals. This book deals with the personal successes of each of us. Success means accomplishments as a result of our own efforts and abilities. Proper preparation is the key to our success. Our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts. Our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. What's going on, Cookie? This book of cures for lean persons has been termed a guide of financial understanding. That indeed is its purpose, to offer those who are ambitious for financial success and insight, which will aid them to acquire money, to keep money, and to make their surpluses even earn more money. What's going on, Andre? In the pages which follow, we are taken back to Babylon, the cradle which was nurtured the basic principles of finance, now recognized and used the world over. The new readers, the author is happy to extend the wishes that its pages may contain for them the same inspiration for growing bank accounts, greater financial successes, and the solution of difficult personal financial problems so enthusiastically reported by readers from coast to coast. To the business executives who have distributed these tales in such generous quantities to friends, relatives, employees, and associates, the author takes this opportunity to express his gratitude. No endorsement could be higher than that of practical men who appreciate its teachings because they themselves have worked up to important successes by applying the very principles it advocates. Babylon became the wealthiest city of the ancient world because its citizens were the richest people of their time. They appreciated the value of money. What's going on, Irvin? Hey, what's going on, Susan? They practiced sound financial principles in acquiring money, keeping money, and making their money earn more money. They provide for themselves what we all desire, incomes for the future. So that's just the forward of The Richest Man in Babylon. Let's get into the text of The Man Who Desired Gold. It's only about 9 pages, so let's get it. Man Who Desired Gold. Oh, I'm about to get my narrator voice on. Bansir, the chariot builder of Babylon, was thoroughly discouraged. From his seat upon the low wall surrounding his property, he gazed sadly at his simple home and the open workshop in which stood a partially completed chariot. His wife frequently appeared at the open door. Her furtive glances in his direction reminded him that a meal bag was almost empty and he should be at work finishing the chariot, hammering and hewing, polishing and painting, stretching taut the leather over the wheel rims, preparing it for delivery so he could collect from his wealthy customer. Nevertheless, his fat, muscular body sat stolidly upon the wall. His slow mind was struggling patiently with a problem for which he could find no answer. The hot, tropical sun, so typical of this valley of the Euphrates, beat down upon him mercilessly. Beads of perspiration formed upon his brow and trickled down unnoticed to lose themselves in the hairy jungle on his chest. Beyond his home towered the high terrace walls surrounding the king's palaces. Nearby, cleaving the blue heavens, was the painted tower of the Temple of Baal. In the shadow of such grandeur was his simple home, and many others far less neat and well cared for. Babylon was like this, a mixture of grandeur and squalor, of dazzling wealth and direst poverty, crowded together without plan or system within the protecting walls of the city. Behind him, he had cared to turn and look. The noisy chariots of the rich jostled and crowded aside the sandaled tradesmen as well as the barefooted beggars. Even the rich were forced to turn into the gutters to clear way for the long lines of slave water carriers on the king's business, each bearing a heavy goat skin of water to be poured upon the hanging gardens. Bansir was too engrossed in his own problem to hear or heed the confused hubbub of the busy city. It was the unexpected twanging of the strings from a familiar lyre that aroused him from his reverie. He turned and looked into the sensitive, smiling face of his best friend, Kobe, the musician. "May the gods bless thee with great liberality, my good friend," began Kobe with an elaborate salute. "Yet it does appear they have already been so generous thou needest to not labor. I rejoice with thee in thy good fortune. More, I would even share it with thee. Pray from thy purse which must be bulging, else thou wouldst be busy in yon shop. Extract but 2 humble shekels and lend them to me until after the nobleman's feast this night. Thou wilt not miss them until I return." "If I did have 2 shekels," Banshir responded gloomily, "to no one could I lend them, not even to you, my best of friends, for they would be my entire fortune, my fortune, my entire fortune. No one lends his entire fortune, not even to his best friend." "What?" exclaimed Kabi with a genuine surprise. "Thou hast not 1 shekel in thy purse, yet you sit like a statue upon a wall? Why not complete the chariot? How else can thou provide for thy noble appetite? 'Tis not like thee, my friend. Where is thy endless energy? Doth something distress thee? Have the gods brought to thee troubles?" "A torment from the gods it must be," Banshir agreed. "It began with a dream, a senseless dream in which I thought I was a man of means. From my belt hung a handsome purse, heavy with coins. There were shekels which I cast with careless freedom to the beggars. There were pieces of silver which I did buy finery for my wife and whatever I did desire for myself. There were pieces of gold which made me feel assured for the future and unafraid to spend the silver. A glorious feeling of contentment was within me. You would not have known me for thy hard-working friend, nor wouldst have known my wife. So free from wrinkles was her face and shining with happiness. She was again the smiling maiden of our early married days." "A pleasant dream indeed," commented Kabi. But why should such feelings as it aroused turn thee into a glum statue upon the wall?" "Why indeed? Because when I awoke and I remember how empty was my purse, a feeling of rebellion swept over me. Let us talk it over together, for as the sailors do say, we ride in the same boat. We too, as youngsters, we went together to the priest to learn wisdom. As young men, we shared each other's pleasures. As grown men, we have always been close friends. We have been contented subjects of our kind. We have been satisfied to work long hours and spend our earnings freely. We have earned much coin in the years that have passed, yet to know the joys that come from wealth, we must dream about them. Bah! Are we more than dumb sheep? We live in the richest city in all the world. The travelers do say none equals it in wealth. About us is much display of wealth, but of it we ourselves have not. After half a lifetime of hard labor, thou, my best of friends, has an empty purse and says to me, may I borrow such a trifle as 2 shekels until after the nobleman's feast this night? Then what do I reply? Do I say, here's my purse, its contents will I gladly share? No, I admit that my purse is as empty as yours. What is the matter? Why cannot we acquire silver and gold more than enough for food and robes? Consider also our sons, Master continued. Are they not following in the footsteps of their fathers? Need they and their families and their sons' families live all their lives in the midst of such treasures of gold, and yet, like us, be content to be banquet upon our be content to eat upon sour goat's milk and porridge? Never in all the years of our friendship didst thou talk like this before, Basir. Kabi was puzzled. Never in all those years did I think like this before. From early dawn until darkness stopped me, I've labored to build the finest chairs any man could make, soft-heartedly hoping someday the gods would recognize my worthy deeds and bestow upon me great prosperity. This they have never done. At last I realize this they will never do. Therefore my heart is sad. I wish to be a man of means. I wish to own lands and cattle, to have fine robes and coins in my purse. I'm willing to work for these things with all the strength in my back, with all the skill in my hands, and with all the cunning in my mind, but I wish my labors to be fairly rewarded. What is the matter with us? Again, I ask you, why cannot we have our just share of the good things so plentiful for those who have the gold with which to buy them? What I knew in answer, Kobe replied, no better than thou am I satisfied. My earnings from my lyre are quickly gone. Often must I plan and scheme that my family be not hungry. Also, within my breast is a deep longing for a lyre large enough that it may truly sing the strains of music that do surge through my mind. With such an instrument, could I make music finer than even the king has heard before. Such a lyre shouldn't you have? No man in all of Babylon can make it sing more sweetly. Can make it sing so sweetly, not only the kings, but the gods themselves will be delighted. But how would you secure it while we both are? How would you secure it while both of us are as poor as the king's slaves? Listen to the bell. Here they come. He pointed to the long column of half-naked, sweating water bearers plodding laboriously up the narrow street from the river. 5 abreast they marched, each bent under a heavy goat skin of water. A fine figure of a man, he who does lead them. Kabi indicated the wearer of the bell who marched in front of without a load, a prominent man in his own country. 'Tis easy to see. There are many good figures in the line, Bansir agreed. As good men as we see. Tall, blonde men from the north, laughing black men from the south, little brown men from the nearest country, all marching together from the river to the gardens, back and forth, day after day, year after year. Not of happiness to look forward to, beds of straw upon which to sleep, hard grain porridge to eat. Pity the poor brutes, Kabi. Pity them I do. Yet, dost thou make them see how little better off we are, free men though we call ourselves? Yeah, I know it sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? That is truth, Kabi. Unpleasant thought it be. We do not wish to go on year after year, living slavish lives, working, getting nowhere. Might we not find out how others acquire gold and do as they do? Kabi inquired. Perhaps there's some secret we might learn if we but sought from those who knew, replied Bansir thoughtfully. This very day, suggested Kabi, I did pass our old friend Arcad, riding in his golden chariot. This will I say, he did not look over my humble head as many in his station might consider his right. Instead, he did wave his hand to all onlookers might see him paying greetings and bestow his smile of friendship upon Kabi, the musician. He is claimed to be the richest man in all of Babylon, Bansir mused. So rich the king is said to seek his golden aid in the affairs of treasury, Kabi replied. So rich, Bansir interrupted. I fear if I should meet him in the darkness of night, I should lay my hands upon his fat wallet. Nonsense, reproved Kabi. A man's wealth is not in the purse he carries. Let me repeat that again. A man's wealth is not in the purse he carries. It's not in his wallet. A fat purse quickly empties if there be no gold streams to refill it. Arcad has an income that constantly keeps his purse full, no matter how liberally he spends. Income. That is the thing, ejaculated Bansir. I wish an income that would keep flowing into my purse, whether I sit upon the wall or travel to the far lands. Arcad must know how a man can make an income for himself. Thou suppose it is good, so I suppose it is something he could make clear to a mind as slow as mine. Everybody put in the comments below income. He said, I wish an income that will keep flowing into my purse, whether I sit upon the wall or travel to far lands. This wise man, Arcad, must know how to make an income for himself. So dost thou suppose it's something he could make clear to a mind as slow as mine? Methinks he did teach his knowledge to his son Namasir, Kabi responded. Did he not go to Nineveh and so it is told at the end become without aid from his father, one of the richest man in that city? Kabi, thou bringest to me a rare thought. A new light gleamed in Bansir's eyes. It costs nothing to ask wise advice from a good friend. Let me repeat that again. It costs nothing to ask wise advice from a good friend. And Arcad was always that. Never mind though our purses be as empty as the falcon's nest of a year ago. Let that not detain us. We are weary of being without gold in the midst of plenty. We wish to become men of means. Everybody put in the comments below, men of means or women of means. Come, let us go, Arcad, and ask us how we also may acquire income for ourselves. Thou speakest with true inspiration, Bansir. Thou bringest to my mind a new understanding. Thou makest me to realize the reason why we have never found any measure of wealth. We never sought it. Thou makes me remember why. Makes me realize the reason why we have never found any measure of wealth. Because we never sought it. Thou hast labored patiently to build the staunchest chariots in Babylon. That to that purpose was devoted your best endeavors. Therefore, at it thou didst succeed. I strove to become a skillful lyre player, and at it I did succeed. In those things towards which we exerted our best endeavors, we succeeded. The gods were content to let us continue thus. Now, at last, we see a light, bright like that from the rising sun. It biddeth us to learn more, that we may prosper more. It bids us to learn more, that we may prosper more. With a new understanding, we shall find honorable ways to accomplish our desires. Let us go to Arcad this very day, Banser urged. Also, let us ask other friends from our boyhood days, who have fared no better than ourselves, to join us, that they too may share in his wisdom. Thou wert ever thus thoughtful of thy friends, Banser. Therefore hast thou many friends. It shall be as thou sayest. We go this day and take them with us. That is the first part of A Richest Man in Babylon. This is the man who desired gold. And so we're talking about Banser, who had a moment. And that moment, he started to realize he had been working for year after year after year after year, making these chariots, but he found himself broke. And then something stumbled upon and said, something ain't working. Something is not right. What can we do? And so they now have decided they're going to talk to the richest man in Babylon, who was a dear friend of theirs from yesteryear. And they're hoping that he'll be open enough to share his advice with them. And what they're trying to do is they're saying that, hey, we spent a lot of time perfecting how to do this particular skill to get money, but we never perfected the skill of keeping money and learning how to make money work for us. So at any rate, that's where we're going to end at right now. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow because we move into The Richest Man in Babylon. Again, this is the #1 book that changed my financial life. And I decided I'm going to go ahead and start making sure that you get exposed to such a thing as this, man. A little book from 1926. And as you guys can already see, it's very powerful. So we're going to pick this back up tomorrow. And we're going to go through this whole book. I'm going to do this every night. So that those who are interested in hearing wisdom from the ages, you can join in with us. Anyway, of course, you can get this book through me at www.ergj.net. It's in our recommended read section. Remember this, guys. Wealth begins in the mind. You must be wealthy in your mind long before you're wealthy in your wallet. Have a good night.